Are we on?
Give me 1 second.
Flavia, you don't want to pump up the crowd?
Sure.
We're not on Facebook yet. Give me 1 second.
No music?
And we are live.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for joining our virtual Sustainachella. All right, it's Earth Month, so our virtual Sustainachella keep on going. We're going to start shortly. We are just adding a few minutes here, so folks can join us. We are already seeing the number of participants popping up. So a few minutes in, and very soon we are going to be starting. And while we give some minutes here, guys, some of you might be new to Zoom and to virtual Sustainachella. So if this is your first time, there is a chat. Oh, I already see some movement in the chat right there. And you can make comments, say hello to everyone. Oh, look who's here, Luis. Oh, Luis Rodriguez. Oh yeah, from our sustainability committee. Welcome. And there's Emilio Lopes. All right. So, feel free to start joining us in the chat. It should be like on the bottom in the middle of your Zoom. And if you're new to Sustainachella, we just recently become virtual. We are still learning as we go. So when sometimes we have some technical issues, please send us feedback of how we can improve, or even topics you would like to learn more about it. The whole reason of having Sustainachella right now, apart from being Earth Month, is that we really want to try to, take you away from the COVID world for a little bit and come to a happy place with us where we can talk about other things. So we would love to receive your feedback after we have our workshop. We'll be sending out a survey. So please fill out the survey. It will be super short. We just want your feedback to how we keep improving here. And who else? Oh, the George is here. All right. Yes, I can see you guys. Yeah, keep on going. So how have you guys been? What you guys have been doing at home? Or why are you guys joining? Why you guys want to learn about plastic? Let's talk on the chat until I get some more minutes here. Everybody's so shy in the chat today. Oh, and the other thing, Yanni will be talking about that, but yeah, everybody's on mute, and we don't allow cameras. This is just to avoid some Zoom bombing. But yeah, you have the chat, and it's really fun. We always have chat here. What is it? We have been using more reusable products at my home now that we are staying home. Oh, really cool. Love it. That is awesome. So I'm excited to hear more about going plastic free. Last week was Earth Week, and I want to keep the momentum going. Oh yeah, it's Earth Month, so keep the momentum going. Hello, Clean Miami Beach. This is awesome. Welcome, Sophie. Thank you. We're excited to have you here. Send you love. All right. Okay, Yanni, I don't know if you want to take over and start the presentation. We'll start moving slow. You can start introducing all the panelists today.
All right, let's get started. Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see
awesome.
it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yanni Pineda, the Senior Sustainability Coordinator with the City of Miami Beach. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, as you probably all know, we're going to talk about plastics and all of our efforts, because we have a couple of special guests here that we've undertaken to help us with reducing the use and dependency of single-use plastics. So before we continue, we're going to lay out a couple of ground rules. Just so you guys know, all participants are both muted and the videos are disabled. If you're interested in asking a question, we highly recommend using the Q&A box to make sure that it doesn't get lost within the chat. And whenever you do want to engage with other participants, we recommend choosing either everyone or all panelists and attendees under your chat box so that everyone can see your comments and questions. I'm sorry, your comments. So for those of you who don't know, we celebrate Earth Month every year, and this is a list of workshops that we have scheduled for April. We've gone through the majority of them, and we have one more on the 30th regarding textile recycling, so we're hoping that you guys join us. And most of these workshops are streamed live, so I recommend sharing with your family, and if you aren't able to make one, we also have them recorded, and you can access them on the site that you see below. I also want to say a huge thank you to all our partners that are here today. We have Tamara Farnsworth with County of Maui. We have Elisa Jones with the City of Hallandale, Jennifer Westerholm with Nashville, Carrie Kashar with Sunrise, Elaine Christian with West Palm Beach, and of course, Matt Anderson with Coral Gables. So we're going to kick this off by turning it over to Katie Watts. She's the co-founder and president of Debris Free Oceans. They're an amazing nonprofit that that actually is stationed in Miami Beach, and they've done a lot of great things, and they've partnered with the city on many of our plastic-free efforts. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Katie.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna open up my presentation here so you all can see. I'm really excited to be presenting. Even though I'm from home, I feel like this is an incredible opportunity because it's like, when do you get people from Nashville, from Maui, and all over Southern Florida to actually come together to chat? Super cool. So really excited. As you know, my name is Katie. I'm one of the co-founders of Debris Free Oceans, and we're a nonprofit here in Miami inspiring local communities to responsibly manage the life cycle of plastics and waste as part of a global initiative to eradicate marine debris. So I like to start with a really big picture to talk about plastics, and I'm basically going to give you a crash course in plastic pollution in 15 minutes. So starting big is the Milky Way Galaxy. So I want to pose a question. Does anyone know how many stars are in the Milky Way Galaxy? You can write in the chat box, give me a few guesses and see if anybody's close. 10 billion, okay. 51 trillion, that's a lot. Somewhere in between, I got 100 billion, that's close. So it's actually 400 billion stars are estimated to be in the Milky Way Galaxy. Now, bringing this back to planet Earth, in 2015, scientists estimated that there were 5.25 trillion with a T pieces of plastic in the ocean, which means that 5 years ago, there were 13 times more pieces of plastic in the ocean than stars in our entire galaxy. This is increasing at a rate at about a garbage truck every single minute, so that scientists estimate that by 2050, we will have more plastic in the ocean than fish by weight. So to bring this a little local to the South Florida folks, this is a map of South Florida. We are very lucky that we have Everglades National Park, Biscayne National Park, all these great natural areas here in South Florida. Biscayne National Park is a 94% underwater park, and there is a small island there called Elliott Key, and Debris Free Oceans regularly does cleanups there. And this is what it looked like one day when we did a cleanup. This is not a beach that people go to. This is within our national park, as I said. So we have a serious problem here with a lot of global trash coming up the Gulf Stream and ending up on our beaches. So why was there so much plastic in that picture? Well, plastics are forever. This is because they are made from oil and they do not biodegrade. Instead, they photodegrade. So an apple, when you toss it out the window, will break down into its organic parts, carbon, nitrogen. Think a throwback to your chemistry class. Plastic, you throw that off into the side of the road, it will do something called photodegrade, where it breaks up into tiny pieces. Essentially, the miracle of plastic is that it's a bunch of tiny chemical polymers all linked together, and no matter where you splice that chain, it stays the same. So think of a bunch of paper clips attached together. You take those paper clips, you break them apart, it doesn't break those paper clips. So that's why plastic remains forever. So it really can, anything that we throw away can end up going into our oceans. I love this map here that's really colorful with all the United States. These are all of the tributaries in the United States and rivers. And as you can see, they all lead to the ocean. So we have Nashville, Tennessee with us today. You can put Nashville on that map, and ultimately its rivers and waterways will lead to the ocean. And a lot of the time, this trash gets in our storm drains in our streets, leads to the nearest waterway, and then ultimately flows to the ocean. So impacts of plastic pollution. We have climate change, marine life, we have land life, we have health impacts, we have economic impacts, all kinds of things. So we're gonna go through those really quickly now. So in terms of climate change, there's really greenhouse gases emitted at every single stage of the plastic manufacturing cycle. We also are seeing, as a lot of people are moving towards renewable energy, the oil industry is taking a lot of their excess energy that they've gotten from natural gas and fracking, and they're moving it towards creating plastics with it. There's actually a movement to create the Rust Belt back into the plastic belt by making something called ethane cracker plants, which take natural gas and make them into plastic. So unfortunately, they're trying to continue making more. So how does this impact marine life? One way is through entanglement. I'm sure you've seen many images like these. Over 700 species are threatened with marine debris. Ingestion, these pieces of plastic end up biofouling, and fish and other creatures eat them. The picture to all the way to the left is actually the insides of sea turtle stomachs, hatchlings that were going out to sea from the Loggerhead Marine Life Center. They sent that picture. So really impacting our marine life. Something people don't really talk about often is how it impacts land creatures. So I actually wanted to ask the question to you all. Can anyone guess what the picture is in the bottom left-hand corner that man is holding? Any guesses? Yes, it is stomach contents. Becca Hildner got it right. It is the stomach of a camel from the United Arab Emirates. Actually, half of the dead camels in that region die from consuming plastic bags. So a lot of people think, oh, this is a marine issue, but it's also a land issue. In fact, people in Texas ranchers, were trying to get plastic bag bans put in place, despite Texas banning the ability of local governments to put those bans in place, because the cattle that they were ranching were eating those plastic bags and having serious problems from it. Plastic pollution also harms our human health. We inhale plastics, we ingest plastics, we get them through our skin contact. And this happens at every stage of the plastics process. This is a great image if anyone wants to look at it later. I'd be happy to send it to you. It really breaks it down. We don't have a ton of time to go fully through it today. But in the extraction process, the refining process, the use of them, and the waste of them, plastics really pollute through their entire life cycle. And then while plastics are being used, there are kind of two ways that they impact consumers. One is the microplastics themselves, and then the second is the chemicals that leach from the plastics. So you can actually ingest microplastics. So for example, if you're drinking bottled water from plastic water bottles, you're ingesting about 90,000 more plastic particles than other people every single year. because those plastic bottles are breaking down little microfragment plastics that you're then ingesting. The other thing is chemicals leaching from plastics. Plastics are oil and chemicals meet together. So those chemicals can leach out into the food that you microwave, into the water that you're drinking, and get into you. Chemicals also adhere to plastics when plastics are out in the marine environment. And so those plastics become these kind of sponges soaking up all of these other chemicals in the ocean that are then consumed by different creatures and ultimately us. So the economics of this is huge as well, and not just for South Florida. Obviously, we need clean beaches to have more tourists, to have a booming real estate industry, but anywhere in America, we are really, really grateful to have so much money going into our industries from coastal tourism. So coastal tourism actually generates over $54 billion every year for America, and it provides Americans with 28.3 million jobs. So if we don't have clean beaches, we lose this really big sector of the American economy. So a little history lesson. This is a magazine from 1955, and essentially it's a bunch of people throwing plastics in the air, celebrating their ease of their use. It was really not until about that time when people started really using plastics. As you can see from this graph, we really went from using no plastics at all until about the 1950s. It really started to ramp up, and now we're producing over 400 million tons every single year. So how did we get this way? Well, we think of everything linearly. We're not thinking holistically about what we do. We look at producing something, consuming something, and then discarding it. What this does is it assumes two fictions. One, it assumes that we have infinite resources, and the second, it assumes we have infinite disposal capacity. We don't have infinite oil and gas to consume, and we don't have infinite disposal where we can just have landfills filling up our oceans and our backyards forever. We need to think in a more circular way where we really appreciate the resources that we're using and we use them to their utmost ability, and then when we're done with them, they cycle back into our system. So Debris Free Oceans advocates that every sector of society, every profession in society follow the 5 R's, which is reduce, reuse, recycle, recapture, and repurpose. And I'm gonna go through those really quickly now just to show some examples. So we're all pretty familiar with reducing single-use plastics, getting rid of our straws, bags, all of those things, bringing our own reusables. I wanted to show a couple things that Debris Free Oceans has created for resources for cities and counties and businesses that are trying to go eco-friendly. On our website, we've created a directory of responsible backyard compostable products. So you can find hay straws, you can find backyard compostable to-go containers. So if you're a business that needs help finding these materials, you can go to our website. We've done a lot of the research for you to make sure that these are products that were made sustainably and can be broken down in our backyards rather than having to go to an industrial composter, which many places don't have access to. We're also in the process of creating a reusable product savings calculator. So that'll help businesses make the economic argument that it makes sense for them to switch from disposables to reusables because they will save money, and it will show them how quickly they will recover their upfront cost. So that will be coming soon. Then, of course, reuse everything that is plastic because it lasts forever. You're not throwing away your diamond ring. Don't throw away that Ziploc bag that you have, that Solo cup. You can reuse those things. So if you have plastics in your life, continue to reuse them until they're no longer usable. I see people asking for the website address. I'll give that at the end. Don't worry. And if you need to get in touch with me, you can as well. Recycle. really recycling should be a last resort. It's very inefficient as it's currently done. So we want to focus on reducing and reusing as much as possible, but recycling definitely is a part of the solution. Recapture. So we promote going out and cleaning up these areas, but cleaning up with a purpose, right? Going out, collecting things from river mouths so they don't end up going into the ocean. The picture on the right is Mike Biddle. He actually mines landfills for old plastics and recreates them into plastic pellets that are used to create other plastic products. So really thinking of what are the raw materials that we need. We can already get those from the rubbish that we've put out into the planet. And then redesigning those items into things we need. So I wanted to give a couple examples because these are really fun. So that's a skateboard made out of discarded fishing nets. Those sneakers in the bottom are made out of car tires. These leggings are made out of water bottles. This bag is made from upcycled pineapple leaves that are normally thrown out. And these clothes are made from upcycled thrifted clothes. So there's so many cool products out there now redesigning out of trash to make a new thing. So we really promote those. And that is about my 15-minute crash course. If anyone has any questions, this is our Instagram, our Facebook, and our website. And my email is katie@debrisfreeoceans.org. Katie is spelled C-A-I-T-I. If you want to get in touch, chat about these things. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I cannot wait to hear what all these amazing cities are doing to help stop plastic pollution. So thank you. I'll stop sharing now.
Thanks. I think there's a couple of questions in the Q&A directed at you. So we can go over a few. Can you see the Q&A box yourself?
Yes, I got it. Okay. What is my favorite reusable product? I mean, the oldies but goodies, reusable bottles, things like that. I mean, that's just a part of my life now. One thing that I've recently been using and I've given to family members as gifts, and now they no longer use Ziplocs, are the stasher bags. I've really enjoyed those. I think they're great. You know, a lot of people with kids struggle with how to send them their lunches, their sandwiches, not in a single-use plastic bag. So I found that as a really good gift for people with children. There's a question, should I go through all the questions?
I would just say answer 2 more and then we'll move on to the next section.
Okay, so I will, okay. I've seen a couple questions of, have you ever seen tourists participate in DFO cleanups? I actually have, surprisingly. A lot of the time, I think a lot of people are interested in the idea of going and doing service projects in other communities. So we've had people come, they usually come to like our kayak cleanups or our scuba cleanups or things like that. So there's a kind of activity fun element, but definitely see tourists participating, which is fun. And okay, I see another question. What is a good starting point to composting at home? So I've been composting at home, and I think the good starting point is honestly just to start. I think we often overthink things a lot. I was doing that for sure. And I got a composter. I got one of those like black bins that spins. And I just started, you know, and I did research. It's really pretty simple. You just need to balance kind of the brown stuff and the green stuff that you put in. And it's going to be a learning experience as you kind of tinker through it, but you can't really do it wrong. So I think good starting point is just to do it.
Awesome. I think we still have a little bit more time if you wanna maybe take on another 3 or so.
Okay. Okay, what can we do to get Amazon Whole Foods to reuse and reduce or recycle their insulated food delivery bags? So I'm not really familiar with this issue. I didn't realize that they don't reuse those food delivery bags. So I'd say, you know, I think the voice of many people is extremely powerful, both on a policy side as well as for getting corporations to do things. So I would I'd raise awareness about it. I didn't even know about that, and I'm in this field. And I would get people to speak up about it, you know, tweet at the company, Instagram at the company, Facebook at the company, and ultimately, I think that pressure from the consumer side can make a change. Other questions? There's a question, how did you all get into this field? I have been working on ocean conservation since high school. I got into it out of passion, and I've stayed in it out of passion. I actually went to law school to study environmental law, and I use my degree to an extent, but I'm more kind of on the activist education side, but got into it because ultimately I read a book about the oceans and the issues they were having. So decided that that was where my life needed to be. I needed to save the ocean. So
Awesome.
should I answer more questions?
All right, thanks, Katie. We'll move on to the next section. So we'll move it over to the cities that are actually joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll get started with Nashville. So we have Jennifer Westerholm with the City of Nashville, and she's the Sustainability and Outreach Manager for the city. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks, Yanni. Thanks, Katie, for a great presentation. And yeah, as Katie mentioned, in a way, we're kind of an outlier here, right? We're a landlocked city. We're nowhere near the ocean. But like Katie said, it's all connected and we have a huge impact. So if you look at the top left corner of the screen here, this is a picture of the streams and creeks and rivers that flow through our city. And as you can see, it's actually a really water-rich area. We're lucky to have a lot of freshwater resources that go throughout Nashville. But as you can also see, a lot of them are unhealthy. So the ones that are in red here are considered unhealthy. And there's 25 different pollutants that are tracked. And so this screenshot is from a tool called iCreek, which is a really cool tool we have. It's kind of a citizen science tool that allows folks to literally go to whatever stream or creek or river is in their backyard or near their school or place of work and see what the water quality status of that is, see what the specific pollutants are in the water, and then what things they can do to try to mitigate that pollution. So it's a really cool way of citizen activism and citizen science to try to clean up our waterways. We also have a lot of programs in Nashville around, adopt a drain, adopt a stream, things like that. So a lot of opportunities for just everyday folks to get involved in protecting the local water resource. And then on the next picture down, you'll see is 2010 when Nashville experienced a 1,000-year flooding event, which caused $2 billion in damage and also loss of life. So that was a huge problem. We have flooding pretty regularly, but we also have these huge kind of once in a while type floods. And that's also obviously a real problem when the flood waters then bring in a lot more pollutants, including plastics, back into our streams and rivers. So that's another challenge that we face as a city. And we have this dubious distinction, that next line down at the bottom. The Tennessee River, which isn't actually in Nashville, but it's nearby, was discovered last year in 2019 to be among the most polluted rivers in the world as far as microplastics. So they collected samples, analyzed it, and showed that far and away in the top rivers in the world, even more microplastics than like the Yangtze River in China, which has millions and millions of people around it. And they found that most of the microplastics are from plastic bags and consumer plastic items. So it's clearly that chain between people, having disposable single-use plastic items, either littering or having them escape into the environment and then ending up in our streams and rivers. So it's a huge problem right here. And of course, all of that water does eventually make its way into our oceans. And then I'll just end that you can see on the right there, those are some of the plastics that we recycle in our city. But even though recycling isn't the main solution, it's a problem for us in that you know, our city only takes some plastics with the economic downturn and not being able to support recycling as much. And then of course to the Chinese markets and things like that. So I think that's another difficult hurdle for us to overcome, is really we are not able to recycle as many plastics as we might want to. And so a lot of those end up in the landfill. So I'll end there. Water-rich city all makes its way eventually to the ocean. We have a lot of challenges, but also a lot of great tools, especially as it relates to citizens taking part in stream and river cleanups. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so now we're going to move out way west, and we're going to actually have somebody from County of Maui here. So we have Tamara Farnsworth, and she is the Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division Manager for the county. I also want to give her a special thanks because she's actually been up since 5 a.m. and it's actually 6:30 over there, 6:30 a.m. over there. So it's definitely showcases, you know, how committed she is to not just collaborating with us, but to everything she loves about sustainability. So thanks so much, Tamara, for being here today. Tamara, are you there?
Zoom life. Aloha mai kako. Loving greetings to you all. Yes, I am joining you from Maui. We're really excited to be participating in this. So thank you so much for the invitation. So as coming from Maui, we are in Hawaii, an island community and nation. And so our connection with the oceans and our reef systems is extremely important. Maui has been a forerunner in this space in terms of trying to reduce our plastic waste here. In 2011, we passed a plastic bag ban. And then just last year, we also passed a polystyrene foodware ban. And just less than 2 weeks ago, on April 17th, our Maui County Council unanimously passed a single-use plastic foodware ban. So we're very excited about that. It's one of the most comprehensive bans that we've seen in the nation, and we are close behind Honolulu, who also passed a very similar ban. So Hawaii, we're getting very focused on reduction because, as we know, recycling is the last R out of all the others. So we're very excited about this. So our single-use plastic foodware ban includes utensils and straws, and even when they are non-plastic, they will be available only by request. And it has been shown that that can reduce the use of those up to 80%. So that's already a really good start. But we have also comprehensively included takeout containers, which include clamshells, cups, plates, you know, bowls, anything that food will come in a takeout container will not be allowed if it's plastic. We do have some exemptions. That includes all prepackaged foods. So it is a start, but it's a really good start for us with takeout containers. There's also, you know, some other exemptions that allow for different uses of those. We do also have a number of zero waste plastic initiatives that we are in different stages of implementing. So we have a very robust and awesome BYO, Bring Your Own Reusable program, where we provide reusable bags, reusable different products such as coffee cups, water bottles, utensil kits we've been giving to the community, which are really exciting, and they include straws and utensils and other products. So we're really focused on trying to help people participate, model, and really reuse as much as possible. And we have some other initiatives. I don't want to go over my time. So if anybody has questions, feel free to ask. But thank you so much for having us. Mahalo.
I'm also muted, sorry. Thank you so much, Tamara, I appreciate that. All right, so we'll move on to the next city. We have Hallandale Beach here. We have Elisa Jones-Wood, and she is the Green Initiatives Coordinator. Take it away, Elisa.
Thank you. And just because I'm the first Florida city to present, I just wanted to also mention that we have a state preemption, which keeps us from banning plastic bags and styrofoam as a municipality. So take that into context that Hawaii is legally allowed to do a lot more than we are. So the city of Hallandale Beach, for more than 10 years, we've had a ban on balloons at the beach because balloons are a big source of ocean pollution. In June 2018, we passed an internal policy. Since we can't ban styrofoam citywide, we at least banned it in city operations 2 years ago. That includes vendors that use our buildings. We can't spend any city money on it. And if an employee comes into a city building carrying a styrofoam clamshell from lunch, we are supposed to shame them and educate them on how that's not an acceptable thing, that we need to be good role models for the people who do business with us and our residents. In September 2018, we passed Broward County's first plastic straw ban, and that started to be enforced January 1st, 2019. We've seen a great success with this. We've only had to bring one business to court. This ban, it's important to note, has exceptions for schools, dental and medical facilities, people with disabilities, and the sale of items like juice boxes that already have a straw attached. The education from our plastic straw ban has been really successful, and as part of that, to extend it, we're encouraging all food service establishments to participate in Surfrider's Ocean Friendly Restaurants program, and we have a couple restaurants in our city who have become ocean friendly restaurants. In January 2019, we passed another internal policy as it relates to the way that the city puts on events. We have kind of a 3-tiered event policy that looks at plastic among a number of different things. The first lowest level that everyone has to stand by is it encourages equal amounts of recycling as waste receptacles, and we have to use post-consumer recycled products. The next step up, which is encouraged, bans the use of single-use plastic in our special events period. And the third tier, which all of my programs are held to, has to be zero waste and carbon neutral. In 2019, we also installed 19 big ash towers at our beach because we were noticing that cigarette butts are a big issue, and a lot of people don't know that the cigarette filter is plastic, not cotton. It does not degrade over time. And since we've installed those ash bins, we've seen a 50% drop in the amount of cigarette butt litter on the beach, which has been great. And in June of 2019, we passed another ordinance which does ban styrofoam and plastic bags, but only in a very specific part of the city, only on our beachside section. So we have a small number of restaurants, but also people aren't allowed to bring styrofoam or plastic bags to the beach. We tied this to overall coral reef health, and that ordinance had a number of different holistic practices that we have put in place to try and improve the lives and reduce the stress of the coral reefs that we have offshore. We're also in the process of designing and installing stormwater filters to keep plastics out of our storm drain basins and the water bodies that those empty into. And also under normal conditions, not under COVID, we hold monthly litter cleanups around the city. A lot of people always want the cleanups to be at the beach. I know that it's beautiful and scenic, but we can stop a lot of that plastic from getting to the beach if we do these cleanups in the street, which is where we do 3 out of 4 cleanups each year are in the street sections. We clean the storm drains. Our public works also cleans the storm drains, but we get to it in between. We clean up these illegal dumping areas that have lots of plastic, whole car parts, all sorts of weird stuff. So we're trying to go from the reduction all the way to cleaning up what's still there. Obviously, every city still has a plastic problem, but I think we've got a good start, and we will be doing as much as we can within the state limitations.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Elisa. I'm happy you also gave a shout out to Surfrider. We're actually partnering with them at this time with the installation of ash cans around some of our entertainment districts. And what we noticed is that many people don't really know that cigarette filters are actually made of plastic. So I'm happy you mentioned that. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next person. And we have Matt Anderson with the City of Coral Gables. He is the Senior Sustainability, sorry, I can't see the thing. I want to say Senior Sustainability Specialist at Coral Gables.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm excited to be here. I hope everyone's safe and well in these challenging times, but I'm excited to be participating in this. Thank you, Miami Beach, for coordinating. I wanted to talk briefly about the initiatives we have here in Coral Gables on single-use plastics. It's something that our elected leadership, our city administration, and our residents this is an issue we take very seriously. So in 2016, we had our first policy. We prohibited the use of expanded polystyrene, otherwise known as styrofoam. and also became the first city in the state of Florida to ban single-use plastic bags. And I'll tell you how originally we were able to do that and where we're at with that. And then in 2019 also banned single-use plastic straws and stirrers, similar to other cities that have done it in the region. And that mainly what it focuses on now is special event permits. Anyone that pulls a special event in the city has to abide by that, any city contractors, vendors, and concessionaires. And then also in our city facilities, in our buildings, parks, golf courses, any city-owned property. And I do want to preface it by saying that we as a city, anytime we impose any restrictions that may extend to businesses, we always want to lead by example. So we do it first as a city and cease using those items. The alternatives, obviously, most people are probably aware of what we encourage, obviously reusable, bags, bottles, cups, mugs, those sorts of things. Metal straws are all included in our ordinance. Now, originally our ordinances, our expanded polystyrene in 2016 and our single-use plastic bags did extend to our retail establishments and food service providers. Basically, when we passed our expanded polystyrene legislation in 2016, it was in between first and second reading. The state then passed a preemption, not allowing cities to ban or legislate expanded polystyrene. So we were the only city in the state that it affected in the fact that we were in between our first and second reading. And the reason why is we waited a little while because we work with our business community. Anytime that we have something that affects our business community, we work closely with our partners, whether it be our Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce, our Business Improvement District. We make sure to get community input and business input on what we're doing before we pass legislation. So when we passed our expanded polystyrene legislation, we were then brought into litigation because we passed our legislation. And it went to the district court, and the district court actually ruled in favor of the city originally and said that the state statutes that govern not only expanded polystyrene, but single-use plastic bags were deemed unconstitutional. So then, therefore, we moved forward and did a single-use plastic bag prohibition that not only affected the special events, the city contractors, and our city facilities, but also extended to our businesses and our food service providers. And we were able to then enforce that. So for over 2 years, we had been enforcing the single-use plastic bags while the district court judge, the decision was going through the appeals court. Well, we found out recently that in the appeals court, the decision had been reversed. And we then went ahead and appealed that decision and tried to take it to the state Supreme Court. Unfortunately, recently, as of this February, we heard that the state Supreme Court did not take jurisdiction over the case. So we had to cease enforcing on the retail establishments and food service providers the single-use plastic bag and the expanded polystyrene. So again, right now it appeals to our city operations and those special events that we pull. But I'll tell you from our perspective and working with our business community and from our residents, it's something that we were really proud of. The city took this on, and we saw great compliance within our businesses. And I'll talk about that a little later on in the Q&A, but we had Publix. We have 5 Publixes within our jurisdiction, and they were complying. They were not giving out single-use plastic bags. And that's something that we're going to continue to make a legislative priority. There has been a lot of bills that have been introduced trying to kind of modify that preemption. And that's something that our city is going to continue to take very seriously. And one other program I wanted to talk about real quickly is our Green Business Certification Program. We started this a year ago, and it's a way of businesses for us to recognize our businesses for all the great work that we're doing, and also incentivize our businesses to continue going away from single-use plastics. And a lot of them have, to be honest, a lot of them have done it as we were putting in this legislation and have stayed compliant even afterwards. So we are glad to work with our business community, and it's something, again, we're really proud of, and I look forward to the Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. You guys are doing some amazing things. Let's move on to the next city, since we're running a little behind. We have Carrie Kashar with the City of Sunrise, and she is the Sustainability Officer for that city. Go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry, Carrie.
Oh, that's okay. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Hi to everyone from the City of Sunrise. We don't have a beach, but we are all connected through our waterways. So what we did in the city is we started with an inward look of where the city was generating a lot of plastic. And Sunrise hosts a lot of events and activities for the community. We put on over 30 major community events each year, and many of them are outdoors. So we knew if we started by focusing on events, we could make a big impact. So that's how we came up with our Good and Green events policy. Our policy was effective the beginning of this year, on January 1. It went really, really well at our first major event of the year, which was our Sunrise Wolf Stock. Unfortunately, after that, events started being postponed and canceled because we all know what's going on. So we really haven't gotten to observe the full effect of our policy yet. And at the same time of our policy, we wanted to also promote something to the community. So we launched our Pass Up Plastics Pledge. It's an online pledge. It's at sunrisefl.gov/passup-plastics. Individuals can take the pledge, and if you show us at our Good and Green booth at our city events, we'll have metal straws, reusable bags, and bamboo utensil sets as a thank you as soon as those events start up again. You'll see in the photo pictured on the slide, that's some of our residential sustainability advisory board members. They were working with local Girl Scout troops. We were working together to do this big launch for our Earth Day event with a plastic fashion show. So we're really looking forward to hard launching this in the future. There is a separate pledge for Sunrise businesses, in which we offer 3 levels of recognition for businesses reducing their plastics. The easiest is they first become a Good and Green partner. Then the next level is a Good and Green steward. And then if a business reduces the majority of its single-use plastics, they can become what we're calling a Good and Green hero. So we have certificates, window clings they can display, and promotional materials for the businesses to pledge. I do also want to note, since other cities are mentioning it, we are doing a number of initiatives that relate to plastic pollution. We do have volunteer events and removing litter through our Dodge Street program. We have beautification programs like our Plant It Forward. And we recently have been doing a pilot project where we're identifying local litter hotspots and installing filters on storm drains and looking to move that citywide. So we've already seen a really big difference in the amount of litter ending up in our waterways, particularly through those storm drain filters. So I want to thank you all for having me on this, and excited to hear the rest.
Thanks, Carrie. All right, so last but not least, we have, we have the City of West Palm Beach, and with us today is Elaine Christian, and she is the Sustainability Program Coordinator.
Everyone, so we passed a single-use plastic straw and stir ban last year, and it went into effect October 1st. So our main focus with this was really to help our businesses transition and also educate the public so that they can understand why we're doing this and what they can do to, you know, be a good steward for our planet all around. So we applied this citywide, but we're also encouraging everyone to go beyond the ordinance. So not just stopping at the plastic straws and stirs, but also going beyond it. We are handing out free metal straws for businesses to distribute to their customers in hopes that they'll return back to their establishment with that metal straw and not ask for one in the future, even though they are banned, so they won't be able to get one. So that was really the main purpose of us handing out the metal straws, is that, you know, maybe people won't be too upset that they're not getting that plastic straw. They'll have their metal one for free. And what we're doing is also working with our businesses. We are working on a green business certification program to help our businesses transition away from single-use plastics. And also just focusing on our events, making sure that we're promoting ways that people can get rid of single-use plastics in their day-to-day lives. We have a lot of free resources that we hand out to the public and our businesses as well. So we're really hoping to serve as a resource for our community, and we're pushing forward with more ordinances as well. So we have some in the works, but haven't been passed yet.
Awesome. Thank you, Elaine. And for those of you who didn't catch it at the beginning, I know there's a lot of great programs being mentioned, not just by Elaine, but also our other cities. This webinar is recorded, so we'll have it uploaded on the Sustainachella page as soon as it's over, so that you can watch it or share it with anyone that you feel may be interested in learning about this topic. Thanks, Elaine. So we'll move on to the city of Miami Beach. So I'll go over a little bit about what we've done so far. Similar to other cities, we have a certification program in place called Plastic Free MB. And the way it works is it's a tiered process. So in order to reach the first level, business has to either remove both bags and straws from their businesses. To reach the second level, you remove bags, straws, and one more item. And to reach the last level, you have to be 100% plastic free. But when we say 100% plastic free, it's normally the most common items based on whatever that particular establishment may use on a daily basis in terms of single-use plastic. So they get a lot of benefits out of working with the city and joining the program, such as tailored marketing. We give them recognition on MBTV, our website, of course, social media. And then we also have consulting services for them. So if they need help with locating sustainable alternatives, we're here to help them. And we're here to provide any other type of resource that they may need in order to make sure that they can make their business more sustainable. A couple of other things I want to mention is that we have one ordinance in place right now for single-use plastic straws, and it's going into effect in July, and it's a citywide ban on plastic straws. So what we're encouraging everyone to do is to begin locating sustainable alternatives. As part of that ordinance, we're not allowing corn-based plastics, and for those of you who don't know, corn-based plastics it's not just corn-based plastics, but any type of plastics that are, even if they're naturally derived, are not allowed within this ordinance. So the reason for that is that we don't have any commercial composting facilities. So those products are only helpful if you 100% compost them at the end. So if they were to be littered on the ground and they aren't in the perfect composting environment, they would end up just, functioning the same way that regular plastic litter would function. I also want to mention that effective as of October 2020, and as part of the city's concessionaire agreement, we are we're working with all beachfront hotel concessions and independent concessions to move over to 100% reusable food service items. So that's something that's also in the works. And now, so that was my part. And now we'll move on to a couple of questions for the panelists that we have listed here. Okay, so this question is for Nashville, Sunrise, and Coral Gables. And I would say a sentence or two, tell me what has been the biggest obstacle in your efforts to reduce plastic. You want to start with Nashville?
Sure, Jennifer here. It's been mentioned, but the banning of the bans has been tricky. Last year, our council people wanted to introduce a plastic bag ban, but the state intervened and said you can't. But good news is this year there's 2 Republican congressmen in our state actually that are looking into reintroducing a statewide policy that would support banning bags, and the grocery store chains are on board with that. So we're excited about that. Other thing just quickly is culture, which I know everyone also faces, huge barrier, just it not being something that people think about or discuss. So our program Socket is really working to just try to increase awareness, through signage in our facilities, through starting to procure compostable items in our facilities, through composting in our municipal buildings, things like that, and just making people more aware.
Thank you. Sunrise?
Yeah, so it's going to sound like the same thing, but I'd say the biggest obstacle has been legal for us, being exempted at the state level from regulating in any way, the polystyrene and the plastic bags, even as we interpreted it on city property. We had a much stricter policy that we were going to put forward, and then we kind of backed off of it. So it really is those legal obstacles. And I'd say another one is when people talk about sustainability and kudos to the marketing and advertisement people all through the 90s. Everyone thinks of recycling, and recycling always comes up, and it's always a big issue. And really reducing is the more important thing. So if we could change around that attitude and start asking those questions, extended producer responsibility, and things like that, it would be a better conversation than always starting it with recycling.
Awesome, thanks, Carrie. Matt, I'm sure that you're also in the same boat with your obstacles.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely legal and the state statutes that are in place. But I think, when it comes down to it, working with our cities and our Chamber of Commerce, who know our businesses best, and when we work directly with them, they were on board, and they wanted to be able to switch over and be more sustainable businesses. So I think, yeah, the biggest challenges we have are really on the legal side and just educating and sharing awareness and increasing awareness around this issue. I think is something that we all spend so much time on. And I think that's, where our efforts are really focused.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so the next question. This one is for Maui, West Palm Beach, and Hallandale. What has been your greatest accomplishment in the fight against single-use plastics? We'll start with Maui.
Well, I would say we're very excited about our very newly passed comprehensive disposable plastic foodware ban. I think that's a really great achievement for our community and for really the nation. Yay! Additionally, we have a number of zero waste plastic initiatives that we have been focusing on to, again, take the focus away or off of recycling. As we know, that's a huge challenge. It's also the last R. So we really are putting a much more focus on reduction and reuse and rot or composting and refusal, and just making cultural shifts and making societal shifts and making people mind shifts.
Awesome, thanks, Tamara. I'm happy you mentioned recycling. I think there's a misconception that everything's recyclable, at least all sorts of plastics. Not true. For those of you who don't know, plastic bags are definitely not recyclable. That's actually our biggest contaminant within our recycling stream. So keep that in mind next time. All right, so now West Palm Beach, what is your greatest accomplishment?
For me personally, it's been making connections with our organizations and just people in our community, and just being a resource for them, a support system, and seeing that they're talking to other people, even on social media, sharing the information and resources that we have out there. So that to me, as I can see the network kind of growing, has been a really big accomplishment. And I do want to mention, I forgot to mention earlier, speaking of organizations, we have partnered with Oceana to host a virtual screening of The Story of Plastic this week. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat box so you guys can register for it, and then we'll have a Q&A on Friday at 7 p.m.
Great, thanks for sharing, Elaine. And Hallandale, what's your greatest accomplishment?
I think that the education that we put forth into the community when we were first rolling out the plastic straw ban, I'm really proud of that, because when we then rolled out the Coral Reef Protection Ordinance, which has the plastic bans on the beach, people were all in. There was buy-in. We didn't have trouble with any businesses say, oh, I already know about how the straws are bad. I understand why you're doing this. I'm happy to do it. No one fussed. Everybody got it. We've had no enforcement issues. And I think that our greatest accomplishment was making sure that people really knew why these kinds of policies are being put in place. And not just animals are being entangled, but it's an ecosystem and worldwide problem. And we can do what we can on a local basis. So that would be what I would say.
Great, thanks. And so I'm going to go a little rogue here, and I'm going to ask one more question before we move on to the questions that we're getting from the participants. So this is for everyone. What advice would you give participants on what they can do to help this cause? And this can be whoever wants to answer. Go ahead, Elisa.
Yes, approach your plastic use as if recycling doesn't exist. Recycling's super broken. Forget about recycling. When you're using plastics, think about that there is no way for it to go, that you're just filling up landfills. Approach it in that way and make sure that you're demanding more from industry and that you're demanding that loudly.
That's awesome advice. Thanks. Jennifer?
I'd say, and echoing something Louise put in the chat bar, is just have these conversations. We know it's true of climate change, of so many issues that we face. And I think if we can normalize this and create a culture of sustainability and a culture where people are like, oh yeah, we don't do that. Somebody earlier mentioned like you're supposed to shame the employees if they come in with their styrofoam, but it is kind of an expectation that we all set every day. And if we can just reach out to others, have these conversations regularly, I think that's the key. That's the biggest thing.
Thanks.
And
Thanks,
I
Jennifer.
think I'll
Anyone
add,
else want to add? Oh, go ahead,
yeah,
Matt.
I'll add. I definitely think just stay involved. Most of, if not all of the cities on this call have advisory boards that you can, you know, participate in and give your opinion. And really, honestly, like in our case, when we passed our legislation, our residents were our eyes and our ears out there if businesses were using single-use plastics, and they were talking to the businesses directly and saying, you know, you should switch. And reality is that's probably the most effective way that these businesses are switching, is when the consumer is demanding it or requesting it. Has been, I think, the most effective than anything we could pass.
Yeah. And I think that's why many of our certification programs aimed at businesses have been so successful. And why they're so important to have in place. So we'll move on now to the Q&A that we're getting from the participants. Let me pull one out and then
move on. I just wanted to highlight too, for the residents of Miami Beach that are present today, you guys can join the sustainability committee. You know, it's an awesome committee that they talk about how we can improve sustainability in the city. We actually have a meeting tomorrow from 3 to 5. It's in our website and you can join. We'll be doing the public meeting virtually tomorrow. So this is one of the ways that you guys can help us out in that fight.
thanks, Flavia. So let's see. All right, first question, just if you guys can just raise your hand or unmute yourselves if you want to answer this one. How do you plan on enforcing the good and green events policy, if you have any?
Oh, that's probably mine, maybe. That's our events policy for our city hosted events. We're not using code enforcement or anything like that. We're enforcing it with through our application process for vendors that come into the event. So they have to fill out a form and it's on there that they won't have certain things. And then we have a purchasing guide for our city staff. And then we also can enforce it at the event itself through our leisure services department, sustainability, city manager's office, and other admin to enforce the different items in the policy.
Thanks, Carrie. All right, next question. From those of you who have a polystyrene or plastic bag ordinance, from the time you've had it enforced, have you noticed a difference in the use or purchase of those items?
I mean, I'll take part of this one too. I mean, yeah, from when we had it, that it applied to the businesses, we hadn't seen any plastic bags really out in our community. And when our code enforcement went out and visited the businesses, and we built in a 1-year education and phase out to make it as economically feasible for the businesses so they can get rid of the rest of the amount of stuff that they ordered, and then also have proper time to be able to plan. So we had seen a big reduction in that. And then obviously within the city, we ceased purchasing it before we even passed the legislation. So obviously you see a big drop off in that.
Thanks, Matt. And I guess from Miami Beach, what I've noticed is that people are a lot more conscious of it. And so it makes them think twice. And so we don't have the numbers of how much less plastic bags or polystyrene is being used. Well, polystyrene is not allowed in the city. But we definitely have seen that people are stopping and thinking more often than they were in the past on whether they actually want a plastic bag or not, or any other type of plastic product. The next question would be, have any of you, or was there any resistance from the restaurant or business community regarding the uses of non-plastics, and how did you address that resistance?
We're kind of experiencing that with our plastic straw ban. It was written before, in between sustainability coordinators. So there's some lack of clarity in the language regarding bioplastics. And so we've had one particular business who keeps serving these bioplastic straws that code enforcement can't tell the difference. So our Sustainability and Flood Mitigation Advisory Board is currently revising our ordinance so that we can make it so that there's no bioplastics, make it clear from the get-go. So we've had some enforcement issues with that because people wanted to have the same feel. People complain that the paper straws get soggy. They do. Some person even showed me that if you put the paper straw into a Coca-Cola bottle, that like the bottle fizzes and reacts in a way, all sorts of interesting stuff of people not liking the paper straws, but they get over it and they get on board.
Does anyone else? Go ahead, Tamara. Oh, we can't hear you, Tamara.
Unmuted it, sorry. With these, comprehensive measures that we're taking, we certainly have had quite a bit of interest by local and national, associations, the food industry associations, American chemical, the beverage industry has to testify. One thing that's really good that's happening in Hawaii is there's a statewide plastic source reduction working group, which all of the counties and these organizations and these businesses that we're discussing that may have concerns regarding these types of bans. We're all, and environmental organizations, we're all coming together in a number of meetings to sit together and really discuss these issues before it gets to a legislative before it gets to legislation. We are working to create some potentially legislation potential recommendations to make to the state that has the input of all the stakeholders and everyone who's interested in this. And so I think that's very useful and it's very positive for us all to come together, because I think everyone acknowledges the serious issue of toxic plastic pollution. And so I think that coming together before we get to the point of banning things, it's good to have that conversation. So we're very fortunate that we have that in place and that we're participating in right now.
Thanks, Tamara. And I'm going to ask one more question before we move on to Kahoot. What we're going to do is after we're done with Kahoot, we're going to go back to the Q&A for those of you who want to stay. We'll be here for another 10 minutes or so after the Kahoot, just to make sure we answer as many questions as possible. So this question is specifically for Matt. Have you noticed any businesses in Coral Gables going back to plastic bags?
Actually, recently we just found out that a couple of the Publixes have switched back to going to plastic bags. They were giving out, obviously promoting reusable bags, and then using these paper bags that they came up with handles. And they had been using those for a long time. And I had a resident that actually emailed me recently indicating that they had switched back. So obviously we want to continue working with them and seeing if they can switch back to the reusable and as the best option.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the quiz time. So I'm hoping that everybody paid attention for the last hour or so. So we're going to ask a couple of questions. I'm going to pull up the screen with a couple of rules on how Kahoot works. So you need to make sure you have your phone. Go to kahoot.it. And then I'm going to pull up a code on the screen right now. You're going to enter that code and your name or your nickname. And keep in mind that you not only get points based on the correct answer, but also how fast you answer. So let's switch over. Do you guys see my screen? Yeah? Perfect. All right, so let's get started. So remember to put in this code that you see up here, 7720952. to wait another minute or so to get more people to join us. Okay, let's get started. Hope everyone's ready. How many pounds of plastic pollution flow into the oceans every year?
Where's the music, Annie?
I don't know what happened to the music. I think it turned off. Okay, so it's all kind of even right now, but good job to the 6 that got it right. And we have Joey 77 at the top. I'm gonna see if there's a way to turn on our music. I don't know what happened to it. All right, we'll just move on to the next one. Well, I'm having issues with my computer. Okay, so next. In Miami Beach, what does not help reduce plastic? We spoke about this earlier. I think I mentioned it a couple of times. I'm not sure who put eating with your hands to help reduce plastics, but good try. All right, we have Judy at the top. Choose the correct option for reducing plastics. I think this was also mentioned by a couple of people. I know Katie mentioned it. That's awesome. Almost all of you got it right. So Judy's still at the top. Next question. Why is corn plant-based plastic not a good option? Good job to the 13 that got it right. All right, let's see who's at the top now. Purple Turtle, and then Judy. Judy was knocked off. Sorry, Judy. All right, let's move on to the next question. This is the last one. How many plastic bags do Americans use annually? Good job, everyone. All right, so let's see who's at the top. And for those of you who haven't played before, I'll share my email within the chat so you can email me if you're a winner. We have Judy and Tati, and in first place, Purple Turtle. I'm not sure who that is, but Purple Turtle will send me your emails. Actually, I'll provide you my emails, and then you let me know that you're a winner, and we'll work out the prize that you're gonna get after this. Thank you, everyone.
All right, awesome. And since we didn't have the songs, I guess we have to clap and do some noise here, guys, for the winner. We'll figure this out work next time. Like, as you guys know, we're just moving virtually and learning as we go. So
Awesome. So Flavia, do you want to move on to more Q&As?
sure. I think for the folks that want to stay in, we can definitely do a couple more minutes on Q&A. And also, guys, I want to take advantage of all the panelists we have here. You know, we have already asked them, so they were very kind to stay a few minutes more with us. If you have any questions to any panelists or want to know, you know, how did they get into the field that they're currently working or their passions, feel free to ask questions for them as well. We'll stay few more minutes here, answering more questions, and then we'll start wrapping it up.
Okay. Well, we have one question here for the whole group. Have any of you banned single-use plastic cups from your community? And if so, what alternatives are you providing for cocktail cups in bars and nightclubs? And Katie, feel free to answer, you know, chime in too if there's anything that you want to answer.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
So we've worked with some bars and nightclubs on switching over. I'd say reusable is really the option for cups. Bars and nightclubs will save money when they do that. We have a case study with Treehouse Nightclub on Miami Beach. And it also makes the venue kind of look nicer. The issue with compostable cups is they're often still lined with either plastic, like oil-based plastic, or they're lined with a PLA plastic or bioplastic. So we've talked about that. Those are the corn-based plastics that require industrial composting facilities. So as far as I know, the options for compostable paper cups aren't great. So I think reusable cups are really the way to go in bars and nightclubs. And you don't have to have a dishwasher set up. You can have a triple bin sink.
Makalea, your sound is on. Can you please mute yourself? I think someone took over her computer.
That's our life right now, right, guys? This is so real. Like us trying to work from home with family, you know, the pets.
Sorry, Katie.
Anyway, that's all.
Oh, I didn't see it. He was right there. Bring him back, Magalea.
Oh, I just see people floating. Okay, Katie, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. Just if anyone is trying to switch bars and nightclubs over, a lot of the times they'll say, I can't because I don't have a dishwasher and it's expensive. You don't need a dishwasher. You can use a triple bin sink, which is pretty small and you can fit behind the bar and is up to all safety codes, health codes, and is very inexpensive. So that's all with that.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Let's see if we can pull up another question. This is for everyone, to what extent, and this is for city representatives, to what extent is the public connected, involved with your initiatives? Is there a sense of general camaraderie, sorry, I can't say this word, in these issues, or does it feel more like a battle trying to get people on board? Anyone? Elisa?
I think people in our city are pretty on board. There are a few outliers who feel like it's an infringement on their rights, the paper straws, but there is a large group of people that are big advocates for it. And in our city, we have an app that we use for code compliance issues, and people report whenever a business is not in compliance, they report it immediately. And I have a group of different volunteers who do that then have their friends do it. And everybody, basically, if someone tries to put a plastic straw on the table, we know, because our residents they're into it and they're advocates and they're policing by themselves. Of course, the vocal people are on social media, not so much at our commission meetings.
Yeah.
People who don't like it.
Yeah, I agree with that. For West Palm Beach as well, we're pretty much along the same path there. We have a lot of people people who are really big supporters of what we're doing, and also, you know, going out and we can see that they're bringing their friends to our free public educational workshops and things like that. So we're still fighting the good fight.
I can add to, same here. Our community's been fully behind us. I'd say 99.9% of the calls that I've gotten from our residents are just the fact that they're super proud to be to live in a city that's taken this kind of action on single-use plastics. And I think the only calls I've gotten that were just questions of like, are you going to take my garbage bag away? Type of thing, and that sort of thing. Sorry, my daughter, my 1-year-old screaming in the background.
It's all good. And Yanni, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I am on mute, sorry. So I know that there's one more question which I can answer. I had someone ask, why can't we ban plastic bags in Florida? And I know that this was mentioned earlier by a few of you. And for those of you who don't know, we're actually preempted by the state from being able to regulate plastic bags in any way. So that's why it's challenging to be able to present ordinances or any type of like regulatory efforts when it comes to certain types of plastic items. So we're going to go on to the last slide on my presentation, and Flavia is going to take it over.
All right, all right. Well, I just wanted to thank again all the panelists. Guys, you've been amazing. Alisa, Matt, Elaine, Michaela, Tamara, Jennifer, Katie, Carrie. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for all the communities that join us. Yanni, thank you so much for all your hard work and your dedication on the Sustainachellas. And for Betsy, our director, and Alicia as well. Yeah, thanks for our whole team for all the work on the Sustainachella. And guys, just wrapping up with a lot of love and gratitude on your way. You know, keep having those thoughts, positive thoughts. Pretty soon we'll be moving to a different time. So let's all keep the good thoughts here, keeping the thoughts of love and gratitude with us, and ending up with thanking you for joining us today. If you guys have any questions, keep sending on our way. We'll keep, you know, sharing it with all the panelists so we can keep chatting with you guys. And again, we'll be sending you the survey. Please fill it out and send your feedback to us. And thank you so much. And guys, if you wanna unmute yourself and thank for all the communities joining here us today: Hallandale Beach, Coral Gables, West Palm Beach, Maui, Nashville, Sunrise, woo, Miami Beach, everyone, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, aloha.
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 Bye.
Oh, and guys, we're having Sustainachella coming up soon. So stay tuned. April 30. Learn about textile recycling. Will be pretty cool. So stay tuned. Join us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.